a mentor, an experienced and trusted advisor. Today on the Pro Talk podcast, you get to meet one of my mentors. Not only is he one of my mentors, he's a friend, but he's also one of the top tennis instructors in the world. But before we meet today's guest, make sure you push the subscription button as well as the notification bell so you never miss an episode of the Pro Talk podcast. Another great conversation with another amazing professional. Not only is today's guest one of the top tennis instructors in the world, he's a Hall of Famer, he's an author, he's a writer, he contributes to many tennis publications. In his speaking, he's spoken to tennis conferences and seminars literally all over the world. He's also a master professional for the USPTA and PTR tennis organizations. In fact, he's the first person in the world to achieve Master Pro status for the USPTA and PTR, which is quite amazing. Now, Mr. Ken DeHart, he's also an author, as I mentioned, and he's produced over 8 tennis DVDs, several of which that I have right here. That when I'm stringing rackets, I'll throw these in to keep my game sharp, and there's always some little tidbit that I missed every time I listen to him. So he's also a man who's collected over 2,000 books about tennis and literally hundreds and hundreds of antique tennis rackets. Now, this is a man who also spent a whopping $14.95 on his very first Wilson tennis racket. So we're going to find out the real story in that. So his list of accolades and honors could take a couple hours, but so we're going to stop right there. But as I mentioned, he's one of the top tennis instructors in the world, a mentor, and someone I'm proud to call a friend, Mr. Ken DeHart. Ken, how are you?
Doing great, Rob. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be on, man.
Well, I appreciate your time. And I know it's kind of difficult. You're in California and I'm here in Georgia. So the power of technology, right?
Yes. I always enjoy coming to Atlanta so I get a chance to talk to you.
Well,
I always get to connect and talk about things that are similar and things like that when we go to Atlanta.
Well, it's fun. And I told my wife, I said, after our recent phone conversation, it's just, you're always easy to talk about. Maybe we think along the same lines about sports and tennis. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you. So thanks again.
My pleasure.
So your first sport growing up, most people think if you're a tennis instructor or you played college tennis that we grew up at age 3, like Andre Agassi, and started playing tennis. So that wasn't your case. So tell us, what's your beginning background?
I lived about 13 miles outside of Columbus, Indiana, in the country. My dad played semi-pro baseball for the Reds. And I grew up, he put up 2 telephone poles and a backboard, and I became a basketball player. And I would take the lawnmower and cut the grass so the base passes were lower. And I wore my dad's baseball shoes and put paper in the end of the shoes so they could fit in his wool jersey and sweat like crazy during the summer. And I would occasionally get a friend over to come and play some baseball with me, stuff like that. But I didn't know about tennis. I'd never seen anybody play tennis before. And then I got a chance to go to college. No one in my family had ever been to college before. And one of my teachers said, "You should look into Ken going to college. He's a pretty good student. I think he'd do really well in college." So we scrounged up some money and went to Campbellsville, Kentucky, and played basketball. But I'm a 6-foot point guard who's had to pass the ball to everybody else so they could shoot. And that was a whole lot of fun all the time. And one day I drove by the tennis courts, went to Kmart and bought my first racket for $14.95 or something like that, and a can of Wilson balls, and became a tennis player. My roommate, his name was Squeak, because he had this, "Hey, like pitch voice like that." And we started hitting every day. And so one day I went by the tennis courts when the coach was out there, his lady coach named Helen Osborne. And I said, "Can I hit with the team?" And she amazingly said, "Yeah, go down to court 6. I'll send you some people down there." So every day I'd show up and she'd send people down to court 6 for me to hit with. And I fell in love with tennis. And then eventually she says, "Yeah, I'll pay you $5 an hour if you'll clean up the courts." I said, "You got it." Then eventually she said, "Well, how about if I pay to be my secretary for the PE department?" Because you had to take typing back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I could type. And then she let me travel with the girls' team and the guys' team to all the tennis matches. And man, that was I went to summer school so I could play tennis that summer. In my sophomore year, I got a chance to hit a little bit and play. Junior, I won the conference doubles championship at number 3 doubles. And senior, I was captain of the team and co-MVP. And then from there, it went crazy.
You mentioned how much that you used to hit on the wall. So I'm guessing you and Screech, or what was your?
Squeak.
Squeak. Okay. It wasn't just you and Squeak hitting all the time.
No.
Tons of hours that nobody saw.
Right. The wall was pretty good. I'd never defeated it. But when I left Campbellsville, it was still undefeated. I never beat the wall.
Keeps hitting it back, right?
But it would be there, rain, sun, snow. Sometimes we'd have to shovel snow off the courts to hit, but
Yeah.
in the wall. So kind of like Pink Floyd, another brick in the wall.
Right.
Mine was the other ball in the wall.
That's good. Okay, so knowing you were a basketball player, you played basketball in high school and then played basketball in college? That
They
was your goal?
didn't make varsity because our team was number 2 team in the state. We averaged 101 points a game. So I was always a practice dummy.
Okay.
And one of the guys that he was a baseball player, that the baseball coach was also a basketball coach. And he says, you could become a basketball player. And it's Jerry Newsom, and he was 6'6", and which is pretty awkward for someone back then. But he went on to play at Indiana State. He set all the scoring records at Indiana State until Larry Bird came by.
Okay.
And then the catcher was Steve Hollenbeck, and he went to Indiana State. And Rick Stoner went to Yale, and it was a really good team. I was a practice dummy.
Because it's Indiana, that's everyone's first love is basketball.
It is. Everyone plays.
Nice.
And of course, we lived 30 miles from Indiana University in Bobby Knight.
That's
so
awesome.
The Hoosiers were always on there.
Yeah. Now, you said that your dad played semi-pro baseball. Was that AAA, or how was it classified
with
then?
With the Reds. He played the Indianapolis Indians.
Okay.
So he played for the AAA Reds. And same way, he was kind of a hit a ball over there, hit a ball over there. He played. I still have his first baseman's glove, his second baseman's glove, his spikes, and 2 of his jerseys.
That's awesome. And you mentioned those wool jerseys. I wore that stuff in Pennsylvania as a kid.
Isn't that amazing?
We had to give them back to the bank or whoever sponsored us, though.
Yeah, well, I kept my dad's, so I was lucky.
That's awesome. Now, was your dad a fan of you getting into tennis, or was there any blowback of, why aren't you still playing basketball? Did you play basketball at Campbellsville as well as what you said?
I went out for the team, stuff like that again, but same thing. I'm a scrub, 6-foot point guard, and pass the ball and dribble the ball a lot. My dad only saw me play tennis twice his whole life. So he said, when are you going to realize you can't play sports your whole life, Ken? And I said, hopefully never.
You still haven't.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. After all these years, it's so cool just to put on shorts and tennis shoes every morning.
Oh, every day, man.
That's
Can't beat
awesome.
the warm up. Can't beat.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now,
but you know all about that too, man.
Yeah. As a kid, do you remember any athletic coach influence or teacher, somebody that really gave you a shove that still remember to this day?
Mostly teachers. The coaches back then, I was such a low level player that, they didn't have time for me. They just go out there and guard the sky or go out there and, do something like that. But I had a couple of teachers that I was in a program called Distributive Education. It's a business vocational program. In the senior year, you're on the job half the day. You learn all about marketing and display and business skills like that again. Mr. Park was the one who told my parents I should probably go to college. And then because I had to have a job my senior year to go to, I went to W.T. Grant's, which is like a J.C. Penney's. And Mr. Paul was my general manager. We became best friends, and he let me. I started off as a stock boy, and eventually he and I would do out and do credit collections and repossess things. And but I also realized I didn't want to be in a retail store. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness for tennis.
Yeah, that 9 to 5 or 9 to 9. That's a nice shift.
Man, particularly on Sunday afternoon when nobody's in the store anyhow.
Right.
Then you got 3 more hours to go.
Yeah.
And I've stacked and reshuffled the pants as many times as I can.
Yeah. I worked at the men's sportswear department at Belk's, and I did like to sell the luggage because there were a little bit of sporting goods in there, and but it was brutal, man. My legs were more tired standing up doing retail.
Oh, man.
Retail legs are brutal. Yeah. Yeah.
Very similar experience.
Now, if you can remember playing Little League ball, do you have a particular painful defeat that you can still recollect?
The painful defeat was playing third base and right field. And so gradually I became a catcher because I said, I'm just standing around here. I either get killed at third base by a line drive, or I go in right field and pick out daisies and never get a chance to do anything. So I said, hey, coach, how about if I become catcher? 115 pounds and glasses.
Yeah.
So I became the catcher just so I could play.
Well, you stay involved with every pitch. You're still with the action.
That was fun. The only challenge was throwing your mask off and throwing your glasses off at the same time.
Did that happen, huh?
I can't see the next ball.
Right.
I had had to get contact so I could throw my basketball and still see the ball coming in.
Well, they say that's the second most important. Some people argue that's the most important, but you still need to have a pitcher to throw strikes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have a good bat?
Yeah, right, I was a switch hitter.
Really?
You know, I was better on right-handed, but I was better left-handed. Didn't know until much later on because being right eye dominant on the left side, you see the ball earlier
Mm-hmm.
than you do when you're batting right-handed,
Yeah.
unless you tilt your head more. Like,
Right.
Federer and those guys that kind of made the eye dominant thing kind of. I'm not a big believer in it. There's more important things in which eye's dominant, but
Yeah.
I always felt more confident in left-handed. In fact, when my son and I play golf, I'll putt left-handed. I can putt better left-handed than I can right-handed.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. In our sport, my brother's a college baseball coach, and
Yep.
I've got a couple of questions for you later, but I always love to say that you guys are standing still and you can foul balls off for days.
Yeah.
I got to return a 13.5 by, or a 21 by 13.5 foot space and
Yeah.
moving right or left. But you're right. Our eyes are straight, whereas the baseball player, I think Derek Jeter was the best one, how he tilted his head. It's like he was almost taunting the pitcher, but he had both eyes.
Right.
So, in fact, I was at the Pirates fantasy camp, and Mike LaValliere, the catcher, he asked a question, and this is one of your fundamentals I'll talk about in a little bit, but he said, the most important thing about hitting, and he went around and people are like balance, belief, and all these different things, and he said, seeing. You have to see the ball first.
And the brain perceives watching and seeing as two different skills. Watching is a scanning skill.
Okay.
So I go and I watch TV till I see a program I like. So seeing is a focus skill. Watching is a scanning skill. So you kind of scan the outside, the outfield, but you would see the ball. And the good batters could read the spin and the arm slot angle to figure out how the ball was going to break. As a catcher, we didn't use a lot of signals because most of the pitchers couldn't throw the ball. They just threw it over the plate somewhere.
Yeah.
You had to really track the ball to be able to catch it too.
Well, I thought it was interesting when I saw a Tony Gwynn thing. I'm just so enamored with, he's got like Chuck Norris statistics. It's just unbelievable. But talked about he wouldn't watch here, but he would watch here because eventually that ball would get there. And I forgot what major leaguer said when he did that, his batting average soared because he was picking up the ball faster.
Yep. And that's the challenge in baseball. I mean, you're 60 feet, 6 inches away. The ball's coming back then, 85, 90 miles an hour. Nowadays, it's insane, 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to be able to pick up the arm slot, the release point, pick up the ball, and then hopefully make the ball and the bat connect.
Right. Yeah. At that level, it's kind of ridiculous when you see what the pitchers are doing, especially with the splinkers and all these hybrid pitches that that's just crazy.
Butt finger and
forkball
and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think there's
my favorite pitch my dad taught me was knuckleball. That thing would just kind of float and come in.
Yeah.
And they may have big mitts to catch it because they don't know where that ball's going to go, even as a catcher.
Yeah. That's neat.
And it's crazy.
Borderline eephus pitch, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Kate. So give me can you remember a pleasant victory or an outstanding achievement in youth sports that you had?
In tennis or other sports?
Any sport. Before you got to college. How about that?
Okay, before I got to college, I guess playing, we won my elementary school, and when I was in 8th grade, like that, we won the league championships, and I was a catcher, and I caught a foul ball and pop up to end the game. And that was it. I kept the baseball.
Right. There you go. That's neat. Okay, so in your baseball league or your youth basketball league growing up, when you won the league, did you get anything besides? Did you get a trophy for anything besides first or second place?
No, there's no participation trophies.
No. Either win or you lose.
Thanks for coming in. So the number 1 or 2 team could beat you, or you're the number 1 or 2 team, and you guys get the small trophy. Do you guys get the big trophy?
Right. Did that ever make you mad if you didn't get a trophy?
No, made me mad because I need to go practice more because we didn't get a chance to win, so you got to practice more.
Yeah.
And you watch what the other teams did. Okay, what do they do we don't do? Well, first of all, they have better athletes. Okay, so we're kind of screwed there. But the ball movement, recognizing how to draw a defender out so you can move the ball back in, or the good players could just make you miss.
Mm-hmm.
They would just make you'd trying to play defense, and they'd do between the legs, behind the back, a dribble, and then all of a sudden pass the ball somewhere. Like, okay, not my guy.
Right. Yeah. So as you progressed to college tennis, now you said was she the coach of the men and the women?
Helen Osborne from Texas,
Okay.
and she raised golden retrievers. She had a golden retriever that was just a beautiful dog. She had a white Cadillac with a red top, and back then we had to drive to all the tennis matches. So I had a Plymouth Barracuda, and we got 18 cents a mile if we drove that day. So we all wanted to drive so we could make money.
That's
And
why you
so
remember the car.
that's right, exactly. But
Oh
then
my goodness.
what happened with her, nobody wanted to sit up front with Miss Osborne. So I would always be the designated shotgun guy. And she would talk to me about what's going to go on, what they did. I'd sit at the matches, she'd say, here's what's happening, then here's what you should try to do. So I got a lot of coaching from her, which is pretty amazing.
And she just kept picking her brain.
Yeah. And she knew that I listened, so she kept talking. And I started keeping a diary because I realized I was going to forget everything. So I tried to tell students today, I said, when you go to play tennis, you're going to take a test. And so you better look at your notes before you go play, because you're going to take a test. Can you get the ball in play? Can you get your mind in the right frame? Can you remember any of the things that you did? So when I started playing, I'd say, okay, I had a really hard time when they hit the ball high. And then when I would hit the ball, I didn't always know how to keep the ball deep. So I'd hit short by accident. And the guys on the team would say, you're terrible to play against. You can't get the ball deep at all. And I say, they don't like short balls. Okay. Like that. So I learned to hit short balls on purpose instead of by accident.
Right. That's one of the misconceptions we'll talk about later about keeping the ball deep.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a full court over there.
Short balls win points, deep balls cause rallies.
Right. Yeah. And we talked about top spin increases rallies, slice ends points, frustrate people. Right. I told you off air that you and I both were late starters. You were later than I was. And, the curiosity factor. I remember seeing a Bobby Knight interview, and he said he guaranteed whoever that in his early coaching days, nobody studied the game of basketball more than he did. And his mentor, Pete Newell, he said any time he got a chance to quiz him about basketball. And I have found that it's a quality that I ask players. I think the greatest quality an athlete in any sport can have first is to be curious. It leads to what you were saying about asking questions, that I need to find out what this guy's strengths were, what's his strengths, what's his weakness, and being curious and to ask those questions. So she was probably your biggest mentor. What put you on your path to become a teacher?
Well, like I said, nobody in my family had been to college before, but then my athletic director, Don Bishop, was a tennis player, and one day he said, would you like to get your master's degree? And I said, what's that? He said, how do I do that? He said, well, I'll help you get an assistantship at Western Kentucky University, and you'll teach whatever sport they have you. So I taught archery, bowling, ping pong, and tennis, and it paid for my master's degree. But he was I think your life is based on people that you meet who see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And Helen Osborne, the lady tennis coach, was one. Don Bishop, my athletic director, was one. That, of course, Mr. Park and Mr. Paul from high school helped me get started in the business world in college. And so he was, so I ended up teaching those sports, and I would drive back to Campbellsville every weekend and drive the VW bus to take the track team to track meets and get paid, $60 for the weekend. And so it's just, just what I never really thought about stuff. I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you?
Right.
Why wouldn't I drive back and drive the team? And you have like 10 guys in a Volkswagen bus, and it would go 30 miles an hour uphill. You try to go downhill as fast as you could to get momentum to go up the next hill.
Just don't touch that brake, huh?
And don't use the brakes at all.
That's awesome. I want to, the listening audience that they don't know some of your philosophies. stuff that I think is just awesome. I wrote down 3 things I thought were incredibly important under Ken's coaching style. One is consider the athletic skills of the player. Tell me something about that.
Well, the first thing before you start to teach, I'll say, Rob, would you close your eyes and show me your forehand? So whatever you picture, the picture in your mind is the only thing you can show me. When you close your eyes, you can only do what the picture is in your head. So before I started teaching, I have them close their eyes and show me the forehand. If it looked pretty good, then when I fed a ball to them, I could see, okay, that's what I had to fix. The difference between the picture in their head and what they actually did, that's the piece that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't start teaching somebody things they can already do. Find out where they are in their athletic sense. And even today, and so if I make an error, I had a player today who's kind of a beginner player, and he made a mistake. And I said, close your eyes and show me your forehand again. Okay, next ball, he makes it. Because you can only do what the picture is in your head. And so when he missed, he started thinking. But when he closed his eyes and did the swing again, he corrected it by himself. Because right back to the picture in his head. So I do a lot of, I teach every athlete the same way. You know, if you're a baseball player, basketball player, number one concern is can you move your feet enough to get there? When you're warming up, the thing you're warming up is not your strokes. You're warming up your footwork and your eyes. So you're warming up the lower part of your body and the upper part. And then the strokes happen. Because if I see the ball well, my feet will get me there and they will tell me when to swing. So the warm-up is about warming up your eyes following the ball. So the little things you do there, I have the players count when they hit. Because I didn't know when I was playing. I would just count shots. And to me, there were 4 bases on the other side of the court. You know, the footwork is all basketball. How do you play defense? Don't cross your legs when you play. Like they teach you to, back then, you had to cross your legs when you volleyed or hit a shot. I said, no, that didn't make athletic sense. King Richard and with the girls, same way. His wife was a track star, and she says, they have to play open stance. They can't get to the next ball if their stance is closed. So then you have, again, to get behind the ball, and then there were 4 bases on the other side. Deuce service court, the space behind the deuce service court, space behind the ad court, and space in the ad court. So I didn't really play against the player. I played the 4 bases, like deep to third base, deep to third base. I go short to first base. I lob to second base. So kind of like golf, I thought about playing the golf course or the tennis court. And I thought about the player. So the coach would tell me 2 things. Are they right-handed or left-handed? What's their shot tolerance? Meaning their shot tolerance, she would say their shot tolerance is 4. So my goal was to count to 6 before I tried to win the point. Because most of the time they'd lose the point before I had to win it. So whenever you count, most players, if you watch them, the average length of a point around the world is supposed to be 4 shots? Because that's about as long as you can hold your breath without having to try to breathe. So most players hold their breath, and by the 3rd ball, they're out of air.
Right.
And they panic. So when you go again, I would count 1 when I hit it, 2 when they hit it, 3 when I hit it. So in coaching, I have the players count. I can have like 4 players on a court and 4 players on another court, and I can tell you who's focused, who's not, because they're counting when the ball crosses the net, not when they touch the ball. And I found out if I counted when you hit the ball, Rob, I quit looking at you. I started looking at the racket. So I picked up an extra split second. If I look at you and then you hit it, I got to find the ball. But if I watched you, but I saw the ball, back to watch and see again, because I could tell if you're off balance or leaning over, that was peripheral background. But I needed to track the ball. If the racket, so I had reaction time, was faster. And now we count when you hit it and then count when I hit it. So I would breathe twice during each point. So breathing is a pretty important part for staying alive.
Yeah.
Just like seeing the ball is too.
Yeah. Well, I remember you said 2 things that I use basically on a daily basis that I use personally when I warm up. See the spin.
Yep.
And all I'm doing in warm-ups, I'm seeing the spin, and then I'm trying to pick up some cues of my opponent to tell to my partner. But the 1-2, with little young kids, we'll just do an exercise. I drop the ball and I want them all to yell bounce when the ball hits the court, and bounce hit. And then you say 1 on the bounce, 2 on the hit. And your phrase was quieting the mind.
Right. And that's it. You got to keep the mind quiet. I can't be worried about something. If I know I'm going to count it, it makes me track the ball. So I can do all this scientific, technical stuff they do in tennis, but really it's just about, if you're going to count it, it'll make you track the ball. And so it makes me track the ball. So I understand where to be and how my eyes are there. And then the count was so that I didn't tense up when I hit, because when I count, I relax.
That's awesome. The second point I wrote down is under Ken's coaching style is to offer simple concepts that players can understand.
Right. Got it. Well, number one is like in San Jose, we're famous. We invented the Palm Pilot. Okay. Palm Pilot is that it's called a cell phone now, but
Right.
it was a Palm Pilot back then.
Yep.
So I said, would you answer the phone? Where do you put the phone? By your left ear. So when you finish your forehand, I want you to answer the phone. So it gave them some place without being technical for them to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, good thing is when you play, your left hand, your non-dominant hand controls the right hand. Like, so I said, okay, Rob, you think you're in charge? Your wife is. Your left hand is your wife. She says, honey, take the racket back with both hands. Put your hand out so you get the right spacing way to hit. Then if you want to hit top spin, bring your hand up. If you want to hit it flat, bring the hand forward. If you want to hit the net, bring the hand down. So I think most of my folks on the right hand, it's actually the left hand that controls the right hand or the non-dominant hand. So if you put your racket on top of your hands, you rotate. If you raise your left hand, the right swing goes up. You drop the front hand, it goes down. So we try to get real simple things that they can relate to. And I said, tennis players watch the upper body. Tennis coaches watch the lower body. Because you can't finish your swing if the feet are in the wrong spot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stop your feet when you're moving to the ball, a person named Eileen shows up. So when you stop your feet, Eileen over. She has a brother named Bend over. So you never try to see Eileen and bend over on your side. You want to see Eileen and bend over on their side.
Yeah.
So you do funny things like that. And eventually I said, don't make me call you Eileen.
Yeah. That's great.
So it's nothing technical. It's just common sense terms. So like we do one like, what's a Scandinavian forehand? Scandinavia is those countries like Sweden and Norway and Finland like that. So if you want a real Swedish forehand, you have to finish your shot or else there's no way it's going to work. And that's a Scandinavian forehand.
That's a new one.
Funny thing like that.
Yeah.
So you do, people say, what do you do for a living? I said, actually, I'm an artist. I paint pictures of people's heads.
Right.
So I spoke last weekend in Illinois at a high school coaches conference. There were 300 high school coaches. I said, you guys think you're tennis coaches? You're an artist. You're a school teacher. You say things so that people can picture what you're trying to say. But the words can make good or bad images. When you say don't do something, psychology has already proven that when you say don't do something, you have to see yourself doing it first to correct it. So don't hit the ball to that man. It's going to go to that man because your brain actually heard. Don't touch candy. Psychologists say the kid will swear you said touch candy.
Right.
But if you say hit cross court, we'll have candy after dinner. So I said the words you choose, like I spoke in Texas at the high school coach. They have 700 high school coaches in Texas. In my 10th year to speak there, my son and I spoke there this year. I said, how many of you coaches say, come on in, come on in? I said, what do you think they don't come in? They're already in. But if you said, everybody, do score at service line, that's both meaningful and measurable. Everybody touch the net. So you have to have things that are meaningful and measurable and not just general terms like, don't hit so hard. Okay, how about if we had level 3 is as hard as you can hit the ball and without missing. Level 2, so you and I could rally. Level 1 will make other people cry. So we put a player out there and I say, Rob, you're going to hit level 1. You're going to hit funky, loopy saw balls. And I get level 3 and we're going to play points. And I ask the audience, who do you think is going to win? They go, Rob, or Ken, he hits them all hard. I said, okay, let's see what happens. Your funky level 1 slow ball just drives me crazy because I can't create pace off no pace. And usually my feet stop because I'm expecting the ball to come to me like it does when I play real people. Rob just plays different. So we play matches where you have to play level 1, 2, or 3. And then I say, okay, can you hit the ball? Your first lesson, I close your eyes and make your shot. Okay, Rob, you're on the baseline. Can you hit the ball to square 1? Well, that's the new service court. Well, obviously you can't hit hard and make it go to square 1. You got to hit a loopy ball or an underspin ball. Okay, Rob, hit to square 2. Okay, Rob, hit to square 3, hit to square 4. The first time, I'll call out the shots. I said, Rob, you're going to call them out this time. You get to choose any one of the 4 squares you want. But, excuse me, you have to make your call before the ball bounces on your side. After the ball bounces, the ball will tell you where you have to hit it. So I feed the ball, and Rob goes, 2. And if he makes his call early, it gives him time to set up to make the shot. Sorry,
That's all
I got
right.
a little coked up on that one.
That's a,
I get a little emotional about these
yeah.
things. So most of my coaching styles are very similar to that. And we always do a mixed skill level. So all my clinics are drop-in. I never have a 4-person clinic. My clinics are all drop-ins, and there's 3.0 to 4.5 skill level. So my son and I do the clinic on Saturday. We have 20 to 22 players on 2 courts. The skill level's 3.0 to 4.5, and it's drop-in. If they don't like it, they don't come back. But we make it, it's all strategy-based and games-based. Very quick action, lots of things. And it's everybody's favorite game. And what happens is 3.0 players meet 4 players, 4.0 players they would never meet in real life.
Mhm.
And the 4.5 and 4.0 players say, why do they come in? Because they can work on skills without thinking about it, because they're better than the other players, so they can work on things. And all of a sudden, the 3.0 player knows somebody in the 4.0 level. A new member comes in and say, come to the clinic. So if I said, hey, call Rob, is Rob weird? Come to the clinic and find out. Maybe he's weird just like you are. So you find people that you connect with.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to get people to intermeet. And then a lot of the people meet people they would never meet because of the drop-in drill clinics. So we have 7 drop-in drill clinics a week.
Nice.
And like today, I had 8 players, and one player who's had 10 lessons. He joined the group. Another guy was 2 4.0 players, and one of them was a tennis coach from another club who came to kind of see what we do and how we do it. But I like not knowing who's going to be there.
Right.
How do I make it work so they come back?
Yeah. That's what's fun to me is as far as I'm a games based. I want a game for warm-ups. And okay,
Yep.
after we make 3 balls, the score starts, and people sometimes go, you got some more rules, and yeah, and they kid around like he's always changing the rules or a crazy scoring system, but that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, that's what tennis really is.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned your
What are the
son.
what are,
Go ahead.
what are the 3 ways you can lose a point without cheating? Number 1, the ball goes in the net. Who picks it up? You do. Like picking up balls, go play golf. Number 2, I hit the ball out. Who picks it up? They
They
do.
do.
I'm on break.
Yeah.
And number 3, they hit a good shot. That's only 3 ways without cheating that you can lose a point. If you eliminate the net shot, your game is 30% better right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't fix anything.
Right.
So in the clinic today, we did a drill. They warmed up. If the ball went in the net, everybody on that side had to go up and touch the net. And so pretty soon, I'm never the bad guy.
Right.
The other guys will help him never hit the ball in the net again.
Right.
So when you play games like that, and I said, look, today it's going to cost you $40, but I can guarantee a 30% improvement.
Guarantee. There you go.
They throw out of the net.
Yeah. I did that with a couple little girls. They're about 6th grade, about a month ago. And if they hit the net, they had to run up and pick it up. Cause I told them that what you said, it stinks on multiple levels to hit the net.
That does.
Before I forget, you mentioned your son, Cam.
Yeah.
When at that tennis, I think it was that Texas conference when he was hit with Mats Wilander, correct?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'll ask you what Mats thought of Cam, but the first thing I noticed, I'm like, that boy's shoulder turned, that left shoulder turned like a champ on that forehand. That thing was so clean. So, and he hit like 9 in a row before Mats. Then he smoked Mats down the line. What did Mats say about Cam in his game? Daddy raised him
first
right?
of all, Cam, he has 3 backhands. He has an underspin backhand. He has a one-handed backhand, and a two-handed backhand.
Okay.
And so Matt said, do you have one-handed or two-handed? Cameron said, yeah. Depending on what the shot is, what I want to do with it.
Right.
And most of my juniors grew up playing with 2 hands on both sides because they learned to rotate on the forehand side with 2 hands. And Cameron played 2 hands till he was about 15, then he wanted to change to one-handed. 2 of my juniors they're on the pro tour now, the satellite circuit. They still play 2 hands on both sides. They still go one hand on a wide ball like that. And then another one played number 1, it's Cal Berkeley, 2 hands on both sides because the players learn to rotate. So if some of the people are having a hard time hitting, I just have them put their other hand on top of the other hand on the forehand side, fixes their forehand just like that. Shortens the backswing, and they both follow through.
Yeah.
So I call it training wheels for the forehand.
Okay.
You had the left hand there to help train the left hand how to move actually and when you play.
I've never asked you this, but my teaching philosophy is I start men, women, children, doesn't matter, starting with the volley before we introduce depth and all that. But as far as ground strokes go, I believe in starting the backhand first because it's easier because the linkage is together, the unit turn. Because you start forehand, they start doing all this arm stuff. Yeah. segments.
Yeah, that's correct. One of the hardest things in tennis every day, 8 hours a day, where's your left hand? I don't know. Where is it? I don't know. But they can't, but in two-hand, backhand, they got it right away.
Hmm.
Even little kids when they're starting off. So I said, well, why wouldn't you hit two-hand and forehand too? Because all it is just teaching how to rotate the body, which is what sports really is. It's
Hmm.
all rotation.
Right.
It's not linear. It's rotation.
Yeah. I found that that's the easiest way for them to introduce the continental grip. I count the bevels 1, 2, 3. I show them the little stop sign, and then they put that knuckle on 2. And then they
Yep.
feel when they go to the forehand, they get the big part of the hand on the big part of the grip.
Right.
Um,
So that's called your palm pilot. And
that is,
wherever you point the palm of your hand, that's where you're going to pilot the ball.
hmm
The racket doesn't know anything. It's controlled by the palm of your hand, but your eye tells your hand what to do. So if you move your eye, your hand will follow your eye.
hmm All right, that's so good. The third concept I had that you covered just a little bit, that you introduce skills that are just like related skills that players already use.
Right. So if you're a skier, um, you have to use your eyes to figure out how to go on the course. If you're a baseball player, you how do you catch the ball? There's only three skills in any ball sport. You catch it, that's a volley. You toss it, that's a ground stroke, and you throw it, that's a serve. That's the only three skills there are in football, baseball, basketball, and tennis and badminton. So until I put the stupid stick in your hand, when you put the racket in your hand, the brain goes numb. Like,
Hmm.
oh, what am I doing now? No, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The volley's a catch, you don't swing. The ground stroke is the toss. So I found out if I tell someone to hit the ball, they're going to swing. But if I say, can you toss me the ball? They'll do top spin on the very first ball, even a beginner. So typically, I'm a beginner, take the ball and toss the ball over the net. I said, now hold your racket by the throat and toss me the ball again. They'll hit top spin on the very first ball. And I said, that's amazing. You have a top spin forehand already.
Hmm.
So you make it so you point out things that they already do well.
Hmm.
Nothing I taught them. I said, you have a top spin forehand. But because I chose the right word to paint a picture in their head,
Hmm.
they get credit for being able to do the skill.
Right. I like how it becomes so simplistic, something that's
Yeah,
comfortable, that's not something they've never heard of.
right.
Well,
So whenever you,
go ahead.
as I say, whenever you teach a skill. Like the skill today is going to be a volley. Now here's a drill to practice the skill. Then you add the thrill of competition. So it's a skill, a drill, and a thrill. And okay, today's skill is going to be the volley. Now here's the drill for the volley. Okay, now let's see if we add scoring to see if your skill goes to the dump.
Hmm.
If it is, we go back to the drill again so you can master the drill, so you can handle the pressure of the thrill.
I remember years ago, one of the seminars in the late 90s, you said about and it's such a easy thing to do. Use the word touch, redirect, deflect a volley. When we
Right.
say we screw tennis players up, we say, I want you to hit softer. I mean, tell a boxer to hit softer. It's like,
Yeah, I
what,
know.
and I've found so much success with telling players, if you can see your racket, you can volley. The millisecond
Yep,
that you can't see it, it becomes a swing. But the
that's right.
power of when you talked about the specific words, we don't want
Right.
them to stop swinging. Why are we even talking about swinging on a volley? It should be a
Totally.
touch.
Right. Yeah, I said, sometimes we've all do, you catch the ball with your hand. You have to see your hand to be able to catch the ball.
Hmm.
If you can't see your hand, you can't catch the ball. So like you just said, if I see the racket, it's easy to catch, and I can't swing because my hand's already in front. So often you hear the coach say, you got to turn your shoulders to volley.
I
I
hate
said,
that.
why would I take the racket back
Right.
when I want the ball to go forward? It's an illusion. The shoulder turn is after the hit, which makes it look like my shoulder came forward because they're watching the top.
Hmm.
Watch the foot. The foot made it look like my shoulder came forward.
Yeah.
But you're so right on with your perception. It's just athletics,
Hmm.
and it's the same in any sport you play.
Right.
So I can work with pro football players because on the football there's a cross on the end of the football, and the receiver he focuses on the cross on the end of the football. I say if you take your eyes off the football, off the cross, you better cross yourself because you're going to the bench.
That's a good one. I like that. Or somebody picked it off. uh,
That's right, exactly.
uh, well, you mentioned something, and if you could expand on this a little bit, part of your philosophy was to identify true errors in players' game and not just the symptoms. and
Right.
it becomes the move before the error. So go ahead, take
Right.
that.
I go to the doctor and because I've got a scratchy throat, and he says, "You have a sore throat." I said, "I knew that when I came in. I want to find out what's causing the sore throat." So the player says, "My forehand, I can't control my forehand." I said, "Yeah, that's a symptom. Here's how you would find the cure." So I think the thing that you and I do really good is we're able to find the cause, not the symptom. Any club player can look out there and say, "You're not following through." The guy says, "I knew that. Why am I not following through?" And that's where we separate ourselves as coaches when we can identify what's actually causing the symptom to happen. Typically, I couldn't follow through because my left arm dropped in front and turned my right arm over like that. So that's a symptom. I couldn't. The ball kept going in the net. So if I got my left hand to go up, the racket would follow my other hand because this one controls this one.
Hmm.
That would be a cure. But it really goes back to putting a rope at the net that's higher than the net because they visualize the court looking through the net. Players play over. So when Cameron was hitting he got sent to Wuhan, China by the WTA to be a hitter for the Women's Pro Tour in Wuhan. So for 2 weeks, he's number one Sarah Court. Him was the top winner in the world, and the women hit the ball pretty low and pretty flat. And they say, "Don't drop shot me, don't lob me. I just want to hit hard flat balls." He said, "When I play with the guys, the ball's 5 to 8 feet above the net, and you got to back up because there's so much arc on the ball." So they hit so much more arc and much more spin than the female players do in that situation.
Well,
So that's one of the fun things, just recognizing little things like that and how to
well,
tennis players should never live in a two-story house or fly in an airplane because they're afraid of heights. They're afraid if I hit high, it's gonna go out. No, you don't have to hit near as hard. Have you ever played a pusher? They just kinda go "Boop," and
hmm
kinda push the ball over the net and drive you crazy
hmm
because they hit level 1 shots while you're trying to hit level 3 shots.
yeah.
So don't be afraid of height. That's how you win points.
Well, you mentioned something there that I'm not sure what your philosophy is, but I love the Rick Macy quote, "Give him a surprise, take it on the rise." I call it Medvedev land. And
Yeah,
I'm watching some college players recently, and they serve, and they're just everybody thinks they're doing great because they're hitting hard. Well, they're 9 feet behind the baseline, and the
yeah,
ball's descending into the strike zone, but you're not gaining any court coverage, and you're not taking time away from your opponent. Did Cam and when he played recently, I mean, is that something like Alcaraz crowds the baseline probably better than anybody because he doesn't
yeah.
have center's height, but that on the
No,
rise, and that also allows him to get more drop shot ground because he's not back in Medvedev land.
that's right. So Cam's philosophy was always like in our clinics when he was growing up, every month, 1 week was underspin only. That whole week, all you can do is hit underspin. And so they became very effective with drops and dinks and playing on the rise and chip and return to serve. So they had options. I said, when you play tennis, you want weapons of mass confusion. Now, George Bush tried that with weapons of mass destruction, but the more weapons of mass confusion you have, the better. The ability to chip, dink, drop shot. And he's always had really good hands. So he would just play balls on the rise and take away the other guy's time. And if he ran into players who hit the ball pretty hard or pretty high, just start chipping the return, keep it low. They have a semi-western and western grip, and they're having a hard time getting the ball back over the net because it's below knees. Like in baseball, you got to keep the ball either below the player's knees or above the chest. Otherwise, the guy's going to hit a home run. So how do you keep the ball out of the guy's strike zone when he plays like that
Yeah.
again? And you win with underspin, you rally with topspin.
Yeah. I did a YouTube tip on that, and I took the baseball bat out there, and I said that exactly, that we're trying to get the person out. And this one troll said, "I'm tired of this strike zone crap," and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
It's real.
yeah,
Yeah,
it really is.
yeah. But
You always got some guys who just don't believe in sports, I guess.
I didn't engage because I thought, well, okay, this
Yeah.
guy's got nothing but time on his hands to rip me. That's okay. I felt
That's true.
validated. But all right, one of the things that I've always enjoyed about you is I can tell you're a lifelong learner. And I asked you one time, what do you like to read? You said whatever, but I can tell you're always growing and you've got that open mind. One of my all-time favorite books was Mindset, that you're a
Yes.
continual learner. I've got a quote here that you said you don't want to be telling people what to do. As a coach, ask them what they heard. Here's what I said. What did you hear? I think
Right.
that's awesome.
So whenever I travel and speak, I was speaking at the Texas conference, or I'd spoke at the Australian Open about 4 times now, and we'll stop even there in the big. I'm on Hisense Arena, and I'll stop and say, "What'd you like today? What did you hear? What's your takeaway today?" It's called tossing the salad because you keep putting stuff on top, but when you ask the questions, the people bring stuff up from the bottom. So somebody in the stands, first of all, they pay attention. You go, "Then I'm going to call on them." Somebody will say something. The other guy say, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot about that." And as a coach, I thought I was saying this, but here's what they're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So right away, I've got to change my presentation, in the middle of presentation, to what they're hearing or what they're giving me back, because they're telling me, here's what we want to hear.
Right.
So I start off with a game plan in mind, kind of just a real vague picture, and I let the audience direct me, or the players direct me as to what they're hearing, what they really want to do. Like that again when you go through and you ask questions. I said,
Sure.
teaching isn't telling, teaching is asking. So telling people, I'm a great teacher. I talked the whole time. And I said, yeah, they were bored out of their mind. But if you engage them and say, what did you like best? Okay,
Mm.
what's your takeaway today? What kind of challenges are you having? And that's the thing I see that makes a good coach like you are. You able to get people to talk and give you feedback.
Yeah.
I'm just starting off. Here's an outline, but you tell me where it wants to go, and you and I will develop the story based on that.
Yeah. It's fun to hear their words. And when they say that there's
Yes,
a problem with something, and then they so well, tell me about that. Where do you feel like you have problems in a match? Then you find out that it could be a mental adjustment they're making to like, for instance, a hard shot. They're trying
sure.
to hit a hard shot off a hard shot, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
can you return a neutral ball and see what that's like? And
yeah,
it's fun to pick through the weeds of what all the stuff that people say that their
it
problems are, and
is.
it's really not their problem.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah. And did
And
you?
like you'd figure out a way like, okay, let's do this. If he serves and you get the ball back, you both get a point.
Mm-hmm.
So what speed do you need to hit at to get the ball back so you can score?
Mm-hmm.
Not a time to beat him. You just get a point to get it back over. So you kind of put him in a different mindset about the point. Because really the server has somewhat of an advantage. Your job is to get the ball back and say, okay, we're even now. Let's play.
Yeah.
But you have to sell them on the concept like that because they don't think like that. Like, I should have won on return a serve.
No.
Not
Yeah.
really.
Right. Yeah. I'd started a game, actually, the way my men play. I won't call them out, but I started a game when I had 4 guys. I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a game, a set. Everybody gets to serve 4 points, and we just rotate. And or you could, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you could do it. But the way it works is I serve. If you don't make the return, the serving team gets 10 points. When
Right.
you make the return, if I don't make the next ball, it's 9 points. It's a descending scale. And so most points are, and it also gets the net guy thinking, if I poach and we win, that's
Yes.
8 points. But if I let it go and they miss it, the next time we hit it, that's only worth 6 points. And so it's descending. And you play a game to 100. And it also puts on the mindset of the returner, hey, when I get this return in play, I can't miss this return because they just got 10 points. But the funny
Right.
thing is, maybe once, and they play the whole game to 100, and they start to get a kick out of a long rally. A long rally, somebody gets 5 points, and they see that you don't
Yeah.
have that many long rallies, and the importance of serving and returning, the 2 most important shots of the game.
Probably the two least practice shots. So what we try to do with the women particularly is don't play sets, play tiebreakers with
Mm-hmm.
one serve only. So
Hmm.
I said, when we only get that one serve. It said, if you have 2 serves, like particularly with the boys, they kill the first ball and dink the second ball. So all the challenge matches, I tell the coaches in Texas and Illinois, I said, all your challenge matches should be 10-point tiebreakers with one serve only. First of all, they're having to play. And I said, imagine you've got a hamburger. The bun on top is really hard, and the one on the bottom is really soft. But the real meat's in the middle. So having one serve, they have to figure out how to find a hamburger serve instead of a bun serve. And I said, first of all, the games go really quick because there's only one serve. I said, every time you play, at some point, you only have one serve. So that's what you should practice. I only got one serve. I can't dink it because they'll kill it. I can't afford to go big.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you kind of think about how to play the middle like that again.
Mm-hmm.
But play tiebreakers because that way the challenge matches go quicker. And I said, all your matches in League USA League play goes down to tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, I can't wait, man. Tiebreakers, that's what I play. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, no, not the tiebreaker.
Right.
It's a different mindset.
Because players will often say, I need to get more first serves in play. And my advice to them is the first two games of your set, I want you to hit your second serve first, because in their mind, the advantage is already on the first server. When you miss the first serve, the advantage goes to the returner.
Totally.
So start with your second serve. They don't know the difference, especially if you warm up with just your second serve.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the same way, the same thing. I was talking to my son when he was in college. I said, why don't you you're missing a lot of first serve. Kick your first serve in. He says, they're going to kill it.
They're not looking
I
for
said,
that.
no, they don't know if you're going to hit it hard or soft. The second serve, they know you're going to hit it
Yeah.
soft. They have the advantage then. The player's mind just like, no, if I kick it in, they're going to kill it.
Right. Oh, that's great.
It's so weird how the brain works.
Does he have a good kick?
He's got a good kick, yeah.
Yeah.
And he hits it inside out. He's got an inside out serve.
Yeah.
He's like a left-handed serve.
Oh, really?
Huge thing he did in college. It's inside out like that, and he can make it break over to the side fence.
Okay, I saw Taylor Fritz do that with a semi-Western. It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
is that what he
That's how he
uses?
does. Yeah. Use a semi-western forehand, hit it inside out, and curve it like a left-handed serve.
Nice.
He takes all pleasure doing that.
I bet. That's almost as good as Luke Jensen. That's something that I want to
Yeah,
see somebody coming up.
with the righty-lefty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it, that the way the foot speed is these days, that there's going to be someday that we're going to see some Federer, and then he's going to Nadal. I'm waiting to see that.
Yeah. So like Federer said, if I could do it again, I would not play with one hand.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he said I would, because there's too many handicaps. If Nadal kicks that ball up,
Yeah.
I have to chip it cross court, and it's going into his forehand.
Right.
He said if my kids play, they're going to play two hands on both sides.
Right. I thought it was so.
Not that you can't have a one-handed backhand.
Right. Well, and when people ask that about a backhand, I thought you need to have both, because you have a two-hand, you need to reach out, and it's also going to help your
Yeah.
approach shot. But I just thought, and I heard Mats Wilander talk, it was a Zoom thing, continuing education I did. Right after COVID, he was talking about the two things that he loved when he noticed back in 86, late 86, that when he sliced, it drove Lendl crazy. And
Yep.
that's Mats Wilander, Swede, ground stroke machine. And he said he spent 18 months perfecting his slice. And coincidentally, in the 88 US Open, he murdered Lendl with that slice. And then he went on to say that, everybody talked about Roger going to a 97 size racket.
Yeah.
But Roger's philosophy was, screw this, I'm not chipping Rafa anymore. And that, was it 17 Australian Open? The way he tagged that backhand was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It was 4 a.m. here, so I guess it was 1:30 a.m. there when I was watching that.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Remember when Arthur Ashe beat Jimmy Connors? Jimmy had beaten him the 2 weeks before that tournament, and Arthur's strategy was just underspin every ball.
Down the middle.
He just tore Jimmy apart in the finals of Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Just underspin only.
Yeah.
And Jimmy just killed him 2 weeks before in another tournament.
Yeah.
You win with underspin, you rally with topspin.
Right. I could talk to you all night, man, but I've got some more questions for you, because I know it's getting late out in your area. But all right, let's get to it. I call tennis a situational sport, and I cannot stand to hear other teaching pros that I hear with these absolute statements. That's the wrong foot. Step with this foot because it's the correct way. And I'm thinking, you don't always receive, and what I teach little kids is tennis balls are like snowflakes. No two are alike.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a bad feed, because your opponent doesn't give you a good feed. But let's go with this misconception that we stop and hit. You need to stop and hit your shot.
That works good in pickleball and in golf. So people stop their feet. Eileen came, and you're playing pickleball because you stopped your feet again to hit it. Tennis is a dynamic. Tennis is a very moving experience. If you're not moving, you're not experiencing tennis. So when you move to the ball, and he says, get your feet set. He means get your feet set to move into the ball.
Yeah.
Not get your feet set to stop.
Balanced.
So again, did you paint the right words with your pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Like that again. And it's a movie experience. You hit with your legs, not your hands.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, Rob.
Well, that's part of you. Part of what I've learned from you, that you enter, execute, exit. And what'd you say? If you stop in execution, you die.
That's right. You executed.
Yeah. Well, and it's you also paint the picture of it's a basketball layup. The person's not doing a sprint. They slow down and lay it up. But what do they do after the layup? They slow down and move through it. And
Right.
the volley is, that stepping thing. It's like the inertia, like hitting the brakes on your car. The front end goes down.
Yep.
Move to it and through it. And the proof's in the pudding. When you watch it, go ahead and turn on Tennis Channel and see if somebody stops on their volley. Nobody does. They're
Yeah.
moving through it.
I know it. Everybody thinks the shot, whether it's a ground stroke or volley, ends with the contact. I said, no, it begins with the contact, and then your momentum after the contact
Mm-hmm.
when you walk through. But I said, the power's in your legs. Your hands simply control direction and spin, but your legs control direction and power.
Mm-hmm.
So together, they kind of grip together. So my hands control direction and spin. My legs control power and direction. So if I move, I can have double power because I've got my legs moving through. So I'm able to really control the ball a lot better than if I try to stop and hit.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that, going back to what you said earlier about hitting to the bases and hitting to the targets,
Yeah,
players think the wrong way. They think about winning the point when in reality they should think about making your shot to your intended target, expecting the ball to come back.
right. And that's like you said, if just hit it to third base, which is their backhand for right-handed.
Yeah.
If you get a short ball, hit it to first base, and then hit it back to third base or lob it to square two.
Yeah. But the drill that you're talking about where you call out your shots, I had two high school kids. They said to me they didn't like it because they knew that their friend knew what shot they were hitting. But I said, but do you realize how many shots you're making when you say what you want to do?
Yes, that's right. You've improved your shot tolerance.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the misconception about hitting the ball deep. Got to hit it
Right.
deep. You got to approach deep or they're going to drive you. They're going to lob you. What's your feeling on hitting the ball short or even in a rally?
I played the finals of the Southern men's 35s, and in the finals, the guy was right-handed and left-handed. He played one hand on each side. And first time I came to the net, he lobbed over my head. Next time I came in, he passed me. The third time I came in, I hit a short ball, and that's the last time he ever passed me the rest of the match.
He couldn't pass you.
Why would you run to the like we do drills all the time? I said, why would you run to the net and hit a deep shot and not expect to get lobbed or passed? I said, okay, go back there. I'll feed you a deep ball. You pass me. Okay, go again. I hit the short ball. I said, why didn't you get to the ball? I said, the misconception, like you were saying, is huge about keep the ball deep, keep the ball deep.
Mm-hmm.
Ground stroke, not a problem. Until you can get a ball where you can angle the ball or shorten up the shot like that again. That's why Alcaraz plays on the baseline. He can angle the ball away. And his goal is 20 drop shots per match. That's his goal. He said, I don't mean I'm going to win 20 points. He just mean they can't stand back there and wait for me to hit the ball back to them. They have to be aware that I might hit a short ball. I might hit a short ball. And so, we always say, and every time we do it in the clinics, if somebody hits the ball short, we have to stop, put your hands in the air and say, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. You're too good. You hit a short ball.
Ah, that's good. I like that.
You always make it kind of fun and embarrassing for them if they
Yeah.
eventually you hope they'll figure out. They haven't yet. I mean, I've been doing this at the club for 5 years there, and nobody's ever figured out to hit a short ball on purpose. It usually is by accident.
Well, this is one of my favorite DVDs. It's called Defeating the Monsters of Your Mind. And you mentioned that on the ladies' tour, the first woman that's hit outside the alley, throw your money on the table. She's about to lose the point because
Yep.
that's the power of the angle, like, the dipper that takes the person off the court. And, like Djokovic has he takes that first neutral backhand he gets, he goes down the line. Everybody else is thinking cross court.
Right. Exactly.
And, you've seen how massive doubles is here in Atlanta
Oh,
that
yeah.
I can't stand. You got to hit a deep return. It's very safe. Well, how about an angled return? Isn't that more effective? And doesn't it elicit a high response so that your partner can poach?
If I hit it deep, it means I don't trust my partner.
Hmm.
If I hit the short angle, my partner now is in a position where he can move
Mm-hmm.
and intercept. You don't have to. You'll win more points by moving at the net than you will by poaching, because your move is enough to catch them and catch their eye. I said, you don't have to poach. Just move whenever the ball goes over there. You move a lot, and at some point you're going to catch their eye, and you're going to make them miss just because you moved.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of poaches, even if I poach, I mean I'm going to put the ball away. I end up hitting it back to the person usually.
Right.
But the movement is how I win points because it makes them change their mind.
That's
And I don't
great.
mind if you don't mind.
Yeah. All right. How about this? You got to snap your wrist to get more power on your serve.
Yeah. And that's such a crazy and they'll see players coaches go to the net and they try to snap the ball down and, bounce it over the fence. I said, "W the wrist acceleration, not snap, the wrist acceleration is upward. What you feel is the motion after the hit, but you don't snap your wrist down, you snap it up." I said, "Hold your racket behind your back, like you're drying your back off with a towel, and pull down with the hand behind you, and all of a sudden let go. The acceleration is up. It's not a wrist snap. It's
Hmm.
just an acceleration upward."
Right.
So people think you hit down on the serve. I said, even at 7 foot, you can't hit down on the ball. It's mathematically impossible to hit a ball down over the net.
Hmm.
It's got to have an upward arc. And so the wrist snap really hurts people a lot because one of the three key injured parts is what? The wrist, followed by the elbow, because they don't use their leg, so they end up using their elbow. And then the doctor was X-raying my foot. He said, "Do you ever get tennis elbow?" I get people all the time. I said, "Don't use my elbow. Use my shoulder, my hips, my feet.
Yeah.
It's never going to take an X-ray."
Right.
It's so hard when people say things like that. And if they really thought about it, it wouldn't make sense.
Right. Well, and you show them that's actually the pronation, the turning over.
Right.
And I remember that Tornagrip ad with Pete Sampras. It's like his racket was like this. And it was like,
Yeah.
that's why he's got a great serve. That's weird. And no, if you just look at it slow motion, you can realize that.
Yeah. It's how a baseball player throws. That's why you weren't allowed to throw. You had to do inward rotation with the forearm. It tears up the elbow on the inside. So that wasn't the pitch the pitchers use much.
Yeah.
But every time you finish it, the arm always turns over like that. That's how nature protects the elbow.
Right. Well, you used a quote years ago. You said, well, that's one way to do it when someone's hell bent on doing something, but here's another way. So not to say that
Yeah.
they're wrong because it's not working
Yeah.
for you.
Right. That's the truth. You never tell people they can't do something or that it's wrong. To say,
Yeah.
That's a good option. Here's another option.
Yeah.
Let's try this option, see if
Yeah.
you tell me which one feels best, because I need them to buy into it no
Hmm.
matter what I say.
Yeah.
And, just let them kinda choose which option seems to be the best.
Well, it's interesting. I've used you indirectly. I've said, one of my teaching mentors, he's in California. I said, I won't add up his years and my years and tell you how many years we've taught. But going back to the speed 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you send it to the player. Do you like this speed? You give them a nice speed 2, nice drive. They drive it. Then
Right.
you give them that slow speed 1 or a lob. And then they realize, well, what do you like? And they're like, yeah, we like the drive too. Like, well, why are we driving balls to the person that likes to drive the ball back? But there's something,
You're like their personal tennis pro. You're just feeding them balls they like to hit.
well, yeah. And I think that's a huge mistake in teaching pros, that I can make you look like Federer because I'm going to give you a bucket of balls where you like it. But your dog agrees. But
Yes, the dog agrees.
there you go. But yeah, and then it's like, I like to slice some balls to people, and then I'll turn it over to semi-Western. They're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And, you're being mean. I'm like, yeah, I'm your opponent today. You're going to have to,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
fun
right.
to introduce that to kids too. Like, hey, here's a challenge ball. Let's see what you can do with it.
Yeah. That's really good. You're very creative. You do a lot of the same, very similar type things, and I appreciate your reference points. I learn stuff from you all the time. I get some of your video stuff and things like that again, and y like attracts like.
Yeah.
You have a tendency to be attract other people who think creatively and who think of other ways to do things outside the box, and that's what makes you a special tennis coach or tennis professional,
Thank you.
and it's kinda neat.
I'm a good copier. So, but,
Me too.
well, okay.
I
Go ahead.
I when I got my Hall of Fame award, I said, "This is really not about me, it's about you." I said, "I stole everything I know from you guys. I just modified it to fit my situation." I
Hmm.
said, "I didn't invent anything. I just stole from you all the time, so I appreciate you. You should all be in the Hall of Fame as well."
Well, here's one that I think all teachers should have: corrective techniques and myth busters. And one of my last misconceptions is, tell us about the rolling the wrist on the forehand.
Yeah. I've got a beginner player that I'm working with right now, and He came out, he would roll the ball like that. He says, yeah, but I said, the ball's on the strings to a second. There's nothing you can do during contact that's going to make the ball roll. So if I had a bicycle, I've turned it upside down so the wheels are up. And I said, spin the wheel. You
Oh,
wouldn't turn the wheel. You wouldn't go over the wheel. You'd
right.
just brush it across the back.
Yeah.
Put a ball against the fence, and can you make the ball roll up the fence when you go through? I said, you want to be a candidate for an injured wrist or a tennis elbow? Roll your hand over the ball,
Mm-hmm.
because now the elbow becomes the high point of the swing, and your fingers are pointing down, which is where the ball's going to go.
Yeah.
So you hear it on TV, the announcers will say, he's really rolling over the ball really well. And you think, oh,
Yeah.
that's going to cost some club member $200 to fix that.
Yeah.
Because I heard the announcers say he's really
Yeah.
rolling over the ball really well.
Yeah.
I said, no.
Well, and I think the former players are the worst commentators. Some of them are, because they don't understand the technique of what they're doing, and they'll see the follow through. It's okay. That's a byproduct of this.
Right.
That occurred after you hit the ball. There's no way that you could do this. That ball's going to go 2 feet in front of you.
No. There's a point of contact and there's a relaxation. So I played a kid in Mexico and he did a release forehand. He would hit his forehand and the racket would go into his left hand. He'd hit it and pass the racket to his left hand. He said, I've already hit the ball. I'm just decelerating.
Great.
So you get the players learn how to relax after contact, because that's when they usually tense up, because they feel like they need to be tighter at the point of contact so the racket doesn't spin. I said, the racket spins because you hit off center.
Mm-hmm.
You hit it off center because you didn't see the ball. So I said, that you're fixing a symptom again, instead of going to what's really causing the problem when you go through.
Right.
But it's hard. It's like I go to the doctor. I want to know, but I really don't want to know what the cure is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's very inconvenient.
Yeah. And that player's comfort level too is something that we have to, try to break through a lot of times. But, I remember Vic Braden, he's one of my other mentors, and I used to he almost got too technical sometimes, but it's like, well, okay, if you understand the way things do, and you mentioned, the kinesthetic side, where I will tell an adult something and I'll say, if this was your son or daughter, I would have said 1/5 of what I said to you, because adults analyze, intellectualize, and once they understand it, that makes sense. They'll try it, but little kids feel. And that's the beauty of it. Sometimes they're just carefree and they feel it. But, when Vic Braden was talking, he said, for you to play tennis, you have to have amazing courage, because you realize that 50% of all tennis players lose.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what, in the world where we need to be tougher, mentally tougher and more resilient, especially kids, what do you tell club players when I lost again, or just if I came off the court and I lost? How do you help players?
I said, did you feel like you competed really well? Did you feel like you got more serves in today? I said, actually, I had your parents chart the match. You lost 11-1, but the opponent got 72 points and you got 68 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's how close it was. But the score is the hard part. But the number of points you won, like Roger Federer said, he says, my whole career, I won 54% of the points and I lost 64 or 46% of the points I lost. So
Right.
It's that close, even at the top level of the player. So if they track points won, it makes more sense when they have to report the score and I got beat by the number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the fact that you can lose a match, you can win a match and have lost more points than you won.
Right.
And so it helps them have a little bit better perspective. But pretty much, we want outcome goals, but we don't appreciate the goals of achievement goals.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, but I lost. Yes, but you got better. I said, do you think Roger lost? He's going to give up tennis?
Mm-hmm.
He goes back and works a little harder.
Yeah.
He said he wasn't always Roger Federer.
Right.
He was like you one day.
Well,
what do you do? What do you do in that situation?
I ask them, I didn't ask you the score. I asked, how'd you play? Because that's my first question. How'd you guys play today? Well, we lost. Well, how'd you play? We lost 6-4, 7-5. I still didn't ask you the scores. But the one thing that's tough is that you can't measure, even in a lesson. I'll say, listen, okay, the score right now is 7-1, and you feel like you're getting destroyed. Do you realize how many points were difficult for them? They just made that extra shot. So we're right there. The margins are small, just like when Nadal was owning Federer. Those margins were small. Roger would miss a ball just by an inch, and that was 30-15 or 15-30.
Yeah.
because it is, where did you develop? I also like to ask the players, I want to get a text from you saying, we sucked today, but we won 6-2, 6-1. Why? Because we found out where the other team struggled.
Right. And that's the real goal. It's like a boxing, find your weakness. You got to throw a lot of punches and absorb a lot of punches, but eventually you find out they have the tendency to drop their hand on the third punch. Little things, whenever that you would pick up on,
Yeah.
like knowing that the shot tolerance is for the guy is 3.
Right.
We always start off in doubles. I always love the first 2 points of the match. Oh, I said, why would I let you serve and then hit the ball back to your forehand?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping the guy doesn't poach. So I'll tell my partner, I'm going to lob the first 2 points of the match. So I lob over their head. He served. Now he's got to run, hit a high bouncing backhand. His partner had to switch. I move up to the 3/4 line, hit an overhead, hit a volley. No matter. We on one shot we can control the moment, change the momentum in the match.
Right.
So we always try to lob the first 2 points of the match.
Yeah.
They're not ready for an overhead. And
Yeah.
then once I lob, even if I make a bad one, they're afraid to poach again because I might lob again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always about creating little monsters in their mind.
That threat. Yep.
He could lob. All he does is lob.
Well,
And I'm not going to give you a serve and then a forehand.
yeah,
You serve, you get a hit or a high bouncing backhand.
that's great.
And if it works, we'll keep doing that the whole time.
Yeah. Find out where you frustrate them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned, and I like to do it because it keeps the intensity in matches in practice, because it's very difficult to create that feeling of 40-30, and then you approach, and if they pass you, that's okay. It's deuce but my question to you is, are you a fan of a 10-point tiebreaker in lieu of a third set?
No. Just as a purist, I want to play it out because I can't. I've never lost a match because I was out of shape. So I felt the longer the match went, the better my chance to win it.
Right.
Now, people watching the match, like they're talking about doing 5 sets for the female at the Australian Open next year. One of the ladies says, I can't focus for 5 hours as a spectator. I have a hard time. Says,
Yeah.
make the guys play 2 out of 3 because my attention span in today's world,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to last for 5 sets.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one just to keep your focus for that long.
Yeah.
But we play tiebreakers in place of sets because they're quicker.
Right.
And in a game, in a set, I can come back.
Mm-hmm.
Tiebreaker's tougher to come back in.
Right.
So
Well,
you have to be more focused.
they've screwed around with that here in Alta, that now it's a third set breaker because of people's time and busy schedules. I'm like,
Yes.
what are you talking about? Now, my problem is, besides several factors, that, okay, you and I won the first set, then the other team switched sides. They
Yeah.
did better. They won the second set. Maybe we should switch, Ken. But we can't really implement that strategy now because it's a tiebreaker. And
Right, exactly.
the thing I don't like is, you can, or saying to the person that lost 6-0, 6-1, 90% of the games went to deuce.
Yeah.
You cannot measure deuce games, and deuce games could take forever. So you're telling me
Yeah.
those 10 points are really going to save that much time when,
I know it.
yeah. But yeah, that the character and the fight of somebody being in shape too.
I agree. Now you're able to absorb more punches and as you play deuce and had than just a
Yeah.
10-point tie. My son's a college player, and he said, I can't tell how many points I lost at. It's 4 all, and it's 1 point. And the guy hits a net quarter winner, or
Yeah.
he calls my ball out. It's on 1 shot.
Yeah.
So I lost the match. But they do it the same way in college to manage times. And then
Yeah.
they finally had to make it so you had to play lets on serves.
They
Because
were
the guys would all eat.
just hooking each other, right? Yeah.
Get an ace. I think, heard a let.
Yeah.
He does a kick serve.
Yeah.
So basically,
Yeah. Well, my solution to the time thing is, let's play 3 sets, no ad, because that's done in an hour and a half, even if you play 7-5, 5-7, 7-5. But
Yeah.
I understand the purist, because most important number in tennis is 2. You got to win by a margin of 2. But
Yeah.
or even, let's make the third set no ad if we really want to make it crazy, like,
Yeah,
a Billie Jean King format or something like that. But
that's right.
so, all right, just a couple more questions. What surface do you think is the toughest to play on? Hard, clay, or grass?
Grass only because there's not as many grass courts around, and players don't have underspin, so you really can't play on grass anyhow. Because the slice or the there's 3 categories. There's topspin, there's underspin, there's side spin. That's only 3 spins there are. Underspin has 3 different names: drop, chip, and slice. So the name refers to the depth of an underspin shot. So it's not really a slice if you hit it mid-court, that's a chip.
Right.
If you hit a short ball, it's not a slice, it's a drop shot. So the category is called underspin, topspin, and some side spin. Usually, because Eileen shows up, so I get side spin when I
Yeah.
put them all like that.
Create
So
the Eileen. I like that.
yeah, that's right. So I'd say grass is probably the toughest, just because you're not used to the ball bouncing like that,
Yeah.
or how soft it actually gets.
Yeah.
Um, it's a little tougher to play on. The footing's a little precarious like that.
Yeah.
We know that clay prolongs your legs a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because I was lucky to have 10 years of a clay court in Nashville, Tennessee. So helped me get a little bit longer before I had to get my knees replaced.
There you go. All right. Who's your all-time favorite baseliner to watch?
Bjorn Borg and Jimmy Connors.
Okay.
And Connors was just ferocious intensity. Nobody could beat New York 2 o'clock in the morning matches with him coming from 2 sets down to
Yeah.
win, inciting the crowd. Borg just sat back there, and everybody was, well, those high loopy balls, Labor just move in and volley those. I said, you ever tried volleying a ball coming out of the air with that number of
Yeah.
rotations? I
Yeah.
don't think Labor would volley that ball.
Yeah.
He just sit back there and said, okay. And so, who was it? One of the players was saying, Jimmy, or Bjorn, you were so lucky. It's so many lines. Bjorn says, I must have missed because I was aiming for the middle of the court. All I had to do was get the ball in the middle of the court. So
Right.
if I hit a line, that was by accident. I
Yeah.
wasn't aiming there.
I think Vic Braden said Borg's strategy was deep down the middle, sometimes cross court.
That's about it.
Uh,
Just hit it back there.
Well, that's something that I would challenge any sport to say, take the from 1980 until, let's say, when did polyester come in? Right near the end of Agassi's career.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the changes of technology. I don't think wooden baseball bats in the major leagues. I don't think the baseballs, the basketballs, the equipment, what John McEnroe had to go through from wood rackets to graphite rackets, then the change of strings. It's just nuts. It's just what all we've gone through.
Chris Evert said the same thing. She was the last female to play with the wood rackets. He said, I had to make the change because the other people hitting the ball so much bigger because of the rackets.
Yeah.
And so she said, I tried to make the change because I had to.
Mm-hmm.
But same thing with Mac. He has such good feel for the ball. And
Right.
can you imagine what it must be like to go with a different racket and different strings like that again? And
Yeah.
what you're used to for your whole career, the feel's gone.
Well, Mac had the highest, was it still the best record, 82-3 back in 84. I would love to have seen what his overall record would be had he been like Becker or Edberg just a couple years later, starting with a graphite racket when he was on tour, and just to see what he could have done. All right, so there's a good segue. Who's your all-time favorite serve and volleyer?
Roger Federer.
No.
Yeah. He's not really a serve and volleyer, but
it's fun to watch.
Fun to watch. Yeah, he was the most graceful player. Like, he's always been described as a ballerina on court.
Yeah.
He's just amazing to watch. Serve and volley player, I guess Karlovic, Michael Steek, guys like that who are just anomalies.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you never knew what they were going to do.
Right.
Pat Rafter was a good serve and volleyer.
Yeah.
But just for artistry, had to be Federer. For intensity, Connors and McEnroe, they were firebrands. They just ignited everything they did.
Yeah. Who's your all-time favorite player?
Bill Tilden.
No kidding.
In 1948, he wrote Match Play and Spin of the Ball.
Right.
And you could still use it in today's lessons.
Nice.
And he was famous. Like, he'd hold 4 balls in his hand, hit 3 aces, then toss the 4th ball away. He'd go to Wimbledon and he would lose the first set or two till the queen got there. Then he'd kill a person 6-0, 6-1, 6-0.
Oh my goodness.
But his books and his artistry of writing was really good. It's relevant even today.
Yeah.
And on how you play the game and stuff like that again.
Right.
So he was probably my all-time favorite. And then he had some challenges, but he actually went to several of the theater friends would let him have tennis court time to teach lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's cool. I never get tired. It's just something simple about watching the spin of the ball and baseball playoffs,
Oh,
watching, because John Smoltz is such a great teacher of explaining
yep.
this and that. And, I love talking to baseball coaches, but just like I see the ball spin and it's like I'm caught up seeing the spin and rotate in the blue sky. Like, this is so cool. Do you see how much spin that was on, So
Yeah.
maybe I'm just doing eye training. I don't know, but I think
Well,
that's
like you were
cool.
saying earlier, it's like, we make the players come up in the warm up when you're warming up, play yes or no. After you make the shot, yes, I saw the ball spin. No, I didn't.
Hmm.
So when Rob says, "You ready to play?" Now I have too many no's yet. I haven't seen the ball yet.
Mm,
So I warm up.
yeah.
Like you said, your goal is like warm up, moving your feet, seeing the ball.
Yeah.
The strokes are whatever they're going to be. But like you said, the book was Tilden wrote was called Match Play and Spin of the Ball. And very much like you were saying, just get fascinated by watching the ball spin.
Yeah.
At a higher level, you can't see it spin because it's too quick, but you can always try.
Right.
And that tells you that you're focusing. You're trying to see the ball spin.
Sure. Well, just a couple more questions, and I'll let you get to dinner. Who's your all-time favorite athlete, any sport?
Bruce Jenner.
Okay. Nice
Yeah.
decathlete.
The struggles he went through, um, being at that level of play was amazing. Dr. Jim Lair did a lot of work with him to try to help him get where he could actually become a winner.
Was that 76?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah. Very
remember the
good.
Wheaties box. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. That's right. Exactly. Very
yeah.
good.
And I remember the way he took the flag, he was left-handed. I remember that. So,
Yeah, that's right. Very good.
yeah.
The other favorite athlete probably is Martina Navratilova.
Okay. Okay. That's one of the things where you want to sit around a bar and talk about who's the greatest ever.
Yeah.
What, 57 major tournaments, Grand Slam
Yeah.
she won? That's nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah,
And
singles and doubles.
She was playing in her 50s.
Yes, and no one's talking about her. It's Djokovic majors, and I'd like to say there's a
And
top 5 all-time list, or
Tilden was playing in his 50s also. In fact, he died in a hotel room waiting to play this little pro tournament somewhere.
really.
Yeah, he was playing tennis still playing tournament level tennis in his 50s.
That's amazing. Wow. Let me
There's
ask you
hope for us
this:
too.
who is your all-time favorite sports team? Any sport?
Favorite team, probably this year, Hoosiers,
Okay.
Indiana University this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
Because
fun to
I
watch.
grew up about 30 miles from IU. In fact, I was going to go to college there until I found this small school in Kentucky.
Yeah.
But probably basketball. Celtics, yes, love the Celtics, man. Just
Yeah.
all those guys. They're
Yeah.
just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And then my favorite player in basketball is definitely Steph Curry. Just
Shooter.
how he went, this little skinny nobody kid, and changed the
Davidson
whole game,
College, right?
the whole game of basketball. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's hope for
nobody wanted to
everybody.
draft him. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. A silly
and
question for you.
yeah.
Have you shot more free throws in your life or hit more serves in practice?
At this point, I've hit more serves. Yeah, I did a lot of free throws from age 5 to 20,
Okay.
but then from 21 to
Yeah.
78,
Yeah.
more serves. Like the other day, I hit 200 serves to one of my students, and he said, "Did I kill your arm?" I said, "I didn't use my arm. I rotated my right foot. All I did was toss the ball up,
Yeah.
rotate my right foot.
Right.
I never used my arm."
Yeah.
So hitting 200 serves is no big deal because I didn't use my
Yeah.
arm.
That's great. There you go. Always teaching, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Last question. What some must qualities to become a champion in tennis? What do we need to have?
To be able to lose, to be a champion, you have to learn how to lose because you're going to lose more than you're going to win most of the time.
Hmm.
And the losing, like Thomas Edison, he found 1,500 ways to not invent a light bulb until till the light turned on.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who tried to invent a glue that would never fall apart invented postums.
Mm-hmm.
So the losing makes you stronger because it means you didn't give up. It's easy when you win. Like you ask a player, like, you won your match today. How'd you do, Rob? Oh, it was pretty good. I did this. But you ask someone who lost, "Hey, I got to work on this. I did pretty good, but I got to do this."
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably the most important characteristic of a competitor or a good level player is the ability to learn from their losses.
Right.
Jimmy Connors says, I hated losing worse than I enjoyed winning.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what motivated me. I refused to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Winning was like, okay, whatever, I won. I don't even remember what I did. I won.
Mm-hmm.
But losing made me go out and practice again. And Alcaraz, all these guys who keep getting better, they did it because they lost
Yeah.
and they don't like losing.
Right. That's sick.
What would be yours?
Oh no, I mean Bobby Knight talked about it's the will to win, but I sure think, if you ask Bobby, it's like, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. you know,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean I've always equated yeah, it's easy to say you love to win, but that feeling of losing is so deep to where you think about it for days. If I could have, would have, should have, and um I don't know. I think
They were interviewing some of the football players from the Niners during the Super Bowl, and every one of them recalled their worst loss, the pass they dropped, the block they didn't make, the hole they missed. They remember it right now, and it's like 20, 30 years later.
mhm,
That still haunts them,
yeah,
but it also what made them who they were.
yeah. I think part of it's Rick Pitino talks about deserving victory. That
Mhm.
where's your confidence come from? Not knowing that you hit the ball well, but knowing that you put in the work.
Yeah,
And Jalen Brown's little FC. Let's see, faith, consistency, hard work pays off. He puts that little an acronym on there. And
right,
hey, you deserve victory because you put in the work, and that's what I think
right.
any sport athletes, those best athletes, have to have.
They asked Leighton Hewitt, is why do you keep playing? You've had all these surgeries. You're injured all the time. He says, I like the routine. I like competing. And I don't care if I'm number one or not.
Yeah,
I like competing. And Federer said the same thing. He said, I like traveling with my family. I like the routine. I like the social. Because they were asking him, saying, well, when are you going to quit? He
right.
said, why?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I like the preparation. I like the ritual. I like knowing here's what's going to happen.
yeah.
And going out there and doing it all the time with my friends.
Right, right. I think that's awesome. Well, Ken, I appreciate your time. Let me go. I have some takeaways. So,
All right.
there's a difference in watching and seeing. Watching is scanning, seeing is focus. You said you should keep a diary. I think that's so good for young players and even adult players. And I've recommended tournament players to keep like a note card on the things on a 3x5 card that you could actually look at on changeovers to remind yourself.
Right.
You mentioned it's like taking a test. You look at your notes before you play. People see things in you that you don't always see in you. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool. And there's some mentors along the way. Warm up your footwork and your eyes. Most of us are thinking
Right.
about how well we're hitting the ball rather than tracking the ball and getting the feet pumping. Meaningful and measurable. I think that's awesome. And you want to create weapons of mass confusion for your opponents.
That's right.
That's excellent.
Right. You never know what's going to happen.
That's really good. And then the tiebreakers. My people are going to get this with playing with only one serve. I think that's really good.
Yeah. Really helps them a lot.
So I've liked it and I have several of my alpha teams. We get 2 courts, and I'll put 4 guys over there, and I'll put conditions. You're down love 30. I hear one guy every now and then say, "This sucks, down love 30." I'm like, "No, how are you going to play if you're down love 30?" But
That's right. Yeah.
I don't like to start them out 30 love because they get too aggressive that way. But
Yeah, I agree.
but yeah, probably the last takeaway that people need to remember is that tennis is dynamic, and so
Yeah.
if you want to be a statue, that's static, but tennis is dynamite, is dynamic.
It's a very moving experience.
Yeah. Well, Ken, again, man, I appreciate your time, and
Always a pleasure, man. This is so much fun just to
yeah,
get to spend more time with you. I usually enjoy it when we go to Atlanta and do presentations
Yeah.
to get a chance to meet in the lobby
Yeah.
and talk a little bit. But this
Yeah.
is even better.
yeah. So next time we won't talk about our knees and our knee surgery. So,
I know.
but
That's
so
right.
it's so.
I told him, I said, yeah, I have a bad case of measles.
Yeah. No, no. Well, technology is amazing, man, because we're still out there. And that's one thing
Okay.
I appreciate you because you're what I call a grinder. It's like you're on the court, you come home and you string rackets. And what's tomorrow? We get on the court, and it's like any day it's not raining is a great day to be training.
It really is. Yes.
So, again, Ken DeHart, look him up, tennis players. He's on YouTube. What's the name of the tennis book, The Tennis Player's Mind? I have it downstairs. I forgot to bring it up.
It's called, hang on, I've got it right up here. It's called Master Your Tennis
Yeah.
Game 50 Middle Strategies.
Yeah. Excellent. Very good book.
It's a real simple kind of book that makes things like we talked about, real simple stuff that
Right.
you can.
Yeah. Specific. I like it. Again, Ken, thanks so much for your time. And for you out there, make sure that when you see this episode, you send it on to another tennis friend, because we all can get better on a daily basis. So till next time, make the most of your time and hang tough. Man, we had some